Yeah.
Simon, how's everyone come back after the bye?
Yeah, I think the first thing you look for is energy in the building, and they've come back in with a lot of energy, a lot of purpose of getting better. And that's been our primary focus, is to go away, get some recovery. 14 weeks is a big block of footy, and come back refreshed, energised, and have great purpose in what we're trying to go about.
What was addressed after the first half of the season? Obviously, a few ups and downs in there, but had some decent results lately. But yeah, how have you addressed that first half of the season, then just taking it forward into the second half?
Yeah, just put it into perspective. You know, we've gone about a process of change, and with change there were some difficulties early. You know, obviously a really slow start to the season, but we're able to build some momentum. And obviously the last few weeks we haven't quite got the results, but we're still playing in a way that's going to enable us to get results. And that's what we're focused on: celebrate the things that we're doing well and in and around our process of getting better, and make sure that the results will start to come. So, you know, a big part of celebrating some of the actions and some of the things that we've been able to work on, but also being really clear and identify the things that are going to take us to the next level, both from a game plan perspective, but also from a a dynamics perspective in terms of building a good team.
How tough was it going into the bye with that loss to Port Adelaide? That must have been quite a blow. You had a bit of momentum in the previous weeks.
Yeah, look, it's, you know, something, obviously a bit of frustration. Obviously, I think the bye came at a good time to go away and just reflect. You know, there's been a few games in recent times where we've had great opportunity to get an outcome, and we haven't been able to get that outcome that we've been looking forward. So that obviously gets frustrating at times. But the clear picture is that we've got to keep sticking to our process, keep working on the things that we know are going to get us better as a footy team, and the results will take care of themselves. So that's what we've got to make sure we keep our eye on.
Just on the conversion, you know, moving inside 50,
Yeah.
I've spoken a lot about it. He spoke on 360 last night. Brad Green spoke on a podcast yesterday and said it's taken about 3 or 4 years to fix and solve some of those conversion issues. Do you think it's taken too long?
Look, you know, if you're talking purely goal kicking.
Yeah, I guess moving inside 50 and being able to convert the inside 50s.
Yeah, look, I think any team likes supply. And, you know, as I said, if you go back 12 months and you look at our supply, we didn't have supply last year. So we've been able to get the type of supply back that we want, and more importantly, we're getting the quality of supply. Now it's about how we maximise those opportunities. And if you look across a bigger period, whether that be 3, 4, 5 years, our ability to convert is actually sitting okay. This year's not to the level. But it's one of those things, the more you talk about goal kicking, the worse you get. It's like putting. For the golfers out there, that if you focus on something that's a real outcome-based skill, sometimes you get worse. So we're going to take all that pressure away. The only thing that I really care about in terms of our goal kicking is, are we doing the work and are we sticking to process? And we've done a hell of a lot of work, and we're sticking to process, and the outcome will come with some belief and confidence when the ball goes through the big sticks.
You celebrate the behinds like the Lions said they were doing?
Oh, look, it's a great mindset to have. You know, I look at that, it's refreshing, you know. In such an outcome-based skill, sometimes you've got to just make sure that your processes are right and get rid of all the anxiety. Anxiety can create a pressure that's not healthy. And you know, I think everyone wants to kick goals, but the less you talk about it, sometimes the better you get.
When you go into a bye, sometimes you reflect on the year that's gone. What's been the biggest challenge for you as a coach this year?
Oh, look, it's just keeping you clear on where you want to get to. And, you know, everyone's got a destination that sits within the current season or wherever you want to go. But this is about building a great team. And we're really clear on where we want to get to with that. And that process and time will take whatever it takes. And we're in a hurry, don't get me wrong. But there's a process to get there.
What is that destination? 3 weeks out of the 8 now. I think it's about 8 weeks left or 9 weeks left. What is that?
Yeah, look, we sort of don't put a time limit, you know, and until someone tells me that final's not a chance, that's when we'll start to look at some other things. But right now it's about focusing on our week to week, getting them right, and hopefully we build some momentum and start getting some outcomes. And who knows, in 7 or 8 weeks what we're talking about. But right now we're focused on Gold Coast and making sure we play a really strong game of footy this week.
Do you try spin the magnets around the back end of the year? Almost finals are almost out of the question.
They out. They're not out, are they? The finals? Almost, yeah. Yeah, look, we're always looking at how we get our team better. So You know, we've continued to put our magnets around and look at different opportunities and different roles. We'll continue to do that. Right now, we think the team's operating in a way that's relatively consistent in trying to play the way that we're trying to play. We'll continue to evolve and change some things, but right now, it's about getting a good game this week.
How's Jacob Van Rooyen going? Obviously goes back to the VFL, comes back in. What are you seeing from him over the recent weeks?
Yeah, look, he's certainly improved in some of the aspects of his game. He's still got a lot to work on, and we're still working with a young key forward that's developing his game. It's, as I said, it's competitive for spots. You look at a Matthew Jefferson who's playing some really strong footy at the VFL level, and he's certainly pressing his claims to come in. So we've got some developing key forwards. They take time. They go on their own little journey about their development. Sometimes it's you're in, you play, you stay. Sometimes you're in, you play, you go out, you learn, you grow, you get better, and you come back in. And Jacob's in a bit of that cycle right now. We're committed to making him the best player he can possibly be. So, he's still growing, and he's still got things to work on.
The Suns' performance early in the year was probably the worst performance of the season. How much resolve is in there in the group to sort of make up for that effort early in the year?
Yeah, look, they played an outstanding game last time we played. I think that was a really clear indicator that the Gold Coast Suns are a tough team and they're going places. And they've got some formidable players. They play a great method of play, so we know what we're up against. We learn a lot that game that we can take in this week.
Just on Cosy re-signing, spoke last night about it. The destination club is obviously a term thrown out a lot. Do you see him as a player that you can use to bring in and attract other players? And do you see the D's as a destination club at this point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any time you can get a signature of, Keziah Pickett for 9 years, it builds stability. And we want to be at the forefront of Indigenous players in the competition. And, if having Cosy at our football club inspires other Indigenous players to want to play for the Melbourne Footy Club, we're open to that. We want to make sure that's a big priority for our football club. And, having that stability in our footy club, we can plan around it. And it's exciting for our supporters and everyone alike.
Just on the Suns, Matt Rowell, Noah Anderson, running right the last few weeks. What's the plan there?
Pretty good players, aren't they? Yeah, look, obviously, when you play a quality side like the Suns, they're going to have multiple players, whether it's Rowell, Anderson, Miller, Flanders, these guys going through their midfielder that are having huge impact on games. We've got to make sure we bring our best footy. We've got some pretty highly talented players through there that need to be watched as well, but there's no doubt we're going to have to put some time into how we nullify some of their strengths.
Is that through a tagger?
Yeah, look, we'll look at that. We've been able to use multiple different players, but we'll certainly go away and have a look at that today and work out the best way to approach our midfield and get the balance in our favour.
How's Jack Mahoney going at the moment? David King, Joe Montagna spoke last night about maybe looking to bring a new position, a new role. I know you've tried that. How's he going at the moment?
Yeah, look, he's had one game back. I think we forget he was out for 4 or 5 weeks. He's had one game back in the team. So the priority for Jack was to get him back in the team, and he's our vice captain and a really important player. So we'll continue to explore not only him as a midfielder, but him as a forward as well. We think he's got great scope to develop in both areas, and that's where we'll continue to put him. Thanks, guys.
Want more content? Click on the videos below and keep the momentum going. I'll catch you in the next one.